With me today is a special car, something I have never featured on my YouTube channel. And funny enough, when I was trying to find out information on this thing, I was quick to realize how many aren't even around. And I think, you know what? This car, I don't even think I've ever seen one on the road. This is a 740 GLE Volvo from 1988. This one is a simple 2.3 litre NA 4-cylinder, single overhead cam, one of the most reliable cars of its time and still to this day. This one's also rear-wheel drive with a 4-speed automatic. Today I'm going to look over the entire car from inside, outside, go over the engine, power, transmission, everything. Then later on we're going to take it for a drive and see if this thing really is as reliable as a Toyota Corolla and drives like a tank the way it looks. So as I was saying, this is the 740, the sedan. Now, back in 1998, this was before any facelifts, and that's where it got its iconic boxy tank-like look. As you can see, it's completely squared off at the front with the flat headlights. This was before the time of modernization, trying to get those slim headlights and whatever. This is just a complete box look. And you know what? A lot of people might have their opinions, but you might find a lot of people like the look of these things. To me, it kind of looks like an 80s Mercedes in a way, in that boxy shape. At the front, it's all business. You got your two headlights. Down here are fog lights, but not in this example of the car. You got your grille, which is extremely functional. Straight behind it is your radiator, and this thing has a clutch fan, which sounds old school as, but I absolutely love it, and I think it's very fitting. From that, you have your front bumper, which is black, and then underneath you have this skirt, which is color coded to the car. I think it's funny, this front bumper. It has like this kind of like crash part of it as if it's like a bumper car, and I just think it looks really practical, like a bumper car, like a bumper, like a very practical version of it. Fuck, what am I saying, cunt?
It's a bumper car.
It's like a bumper car, like in the way it just has this crash thing.
Mate.
It just gets that fucking, it's got that tank vibe to it. Like everything is practical, everything has a purpose. It might not be for looks, it's just completely practical. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful. Now coming down the side of the car, again, it's really 80s vibes. With this chrome, you got the pinstripe and then the black little shading part. It's just real 80s. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I did up a VL, and this chrome piece that goes along the entire length of the car, it looks just like it. And all those 80s cars love the chrome. It was the biggest thing back then. But what you do notice is just how symmetrically boxy this car looks. Like you see at the front, it's got this huge squared off front bonnet area, and then the boot is the same idea, just shorter, squared off, straight down. So of course, this one is in the gold color. Now, I hate color gold. I think, especially in new cars, it looks fucking awful. But on this old Volvo, I think it just looks the business. Fitted with these wheels, which are off a 940 Volvo, they just look amazing. I just think it looks so period correct. And obviously this car's already stock. It's on stock ride height. And let me tell you, I wouldn't change a thing. Now at the back of the car, very predictable as what you'd expect. You got this back window, which in Australia we have utes, and they have a back window that's just completely flat. I've never seen a sedan with such a flat rear window. Usually it comes down or whatever. This window is completely flat, straight box. There's no curves on this car. It's just angles. It's just straight cut down like a box, like a square. And then on the back we have your 740 GL, and then obviously Volvo. And then it's all business. Straight, unlock this boot. That's just it. I think these taillights look pretty funny as well. It's just straight business. Just brake light, tail light, fuck. Brake light, reverse light, indicator, and then a foggy. And I'm not going to turn the foggy on because from what I've been told, if you turn the fog lights on and brake, the front lights also turn on, which is pretty sick. It means if you get brake checked, you're all good. Coming into the interior of this Volvo. Now, when I drove this thing, as I'll talk about later, I couldn't believe how nice this thing drove. For a $500 car from 1988, this thing drives exceptionally. And this interior feels so bloody nice. You can really tell it was made well. Like these seats are like this, not suede, but this like cloth, really nice finish. You just don't see these in new cars anymore. And this has 240,000 kilometers and has been sitting outside forever. And these seats are still in mint condition. And you can say that about mainly the entire interior. Now, like I said, this isn't the cleanest example, but for a car that's been beat and you can see its age, this thing hides it extremely well. Another great thing of this car is its daily ability. You might think, Max, you're crazy, dailying an 80s Volvo, are you serious? But I'm not joking. This thing has all the essentials, and I'm being serious. I'm not even taking the piss. Sorry, all 4 windows are also electric. Electric mirrors, which has a knob for each mirror. Everything's electric in here. It's got an AC, which I think is funny. If you look at the AC unit, it's got a smaller size ice block thing for less AC coldness, and a bigger one for more AC coldness. I think that's just hilarious. But it's just functional. Like, it doesn't look as old as it seems, but it does at the same time. It's got 4 speakers, and till this day they sound really good. I'm pretty sure they're standard. The head unit has been changed, but it still sounds absolutely mint. Now, the part of this car which maybe you don't want a daily and is something to consider is, I'm not going to say you have to be a good driver to drive this, because anyone can, but if you want to not die, you know, you want to be driving in pretty much perfect conditions. That's because this has 0 drive aid, no ABS, no traction control, no stability control, no safety features, and I take that literally. You can literally pull out the center of the steering wheel to reveal absolutely fucking nothing, but it drives immaculately. Like I said, this car's on stock lowering suspension, everything's standard. You know, it's got a 4-speed auto, for which at its time was not too bad either, with an overdrive, which I reckon makes it a 5-speed. That means when we cruise it later on the freeway, you actually see it at a really surprising low RPM. My Mazda 323, my daily, is a 1.8 litre dual overhead cam engine and screams at 3200 RPM at 100 k's an hour. This thing is almost 15 years older than that, is single cam, 4-speed auto, and sits at a much lower RPM. We'll get more into the driving later, but except for that, it goes really well. And it's also got the overdrive which helps heaps. Now, Volvo has some really interesting quirks in this interior, which you just never see anymore. Number 1 is the seats. They look normal and they're in really good condition, but at the top here, it comes out completely so you can see through it. Like, as you can see here, they all just come out, and then you can keep this like this, or you have this, which just clips straight back in. Another thing is, if you're looking at the front here, this thing has your fuel tank, your speedo, your RPM, engine temperature, but it also has a clock. Now, a lot of these cars have clocks nowadays, but they're always digital, kind of like what I'm wearing on my wrist. Never do you see analog clocks anymore on cars. This is a typical Sweden thing, which I think is hilarious. It's just the general way you get in and out of this car. For getting in is a latch, which instead of cools out like that, is more like a finger action. Pause. And then to leave the car is the same idea. It's got a latch like that, kind of like the same one on the outside. Yes, like I was saying, everything is factory, but not only that, it's all original. Yes, a 1988 Volvo still has its original alternator, and you can really tell by looking at it, that thing looks absolutely massive. But the reason it's all original is because of how reliable it is. A lot of people have this feeling that Volvos are reliable, and they are. This thing is really the Toyota Corolla of Sweden, and to be honest, all of that side of Europe. Alright, driving the 740 Volvo. Now, a lot of cars I film, especially my cars, I have to scream and yell and amplify my voice just to speak to the camera right here. In this thing, it's not a bloody problem. That's because how quiet it is in here. And I think because the seats are made out of this material and everything kind of is nice and soft, the noise just kind of cancels out. It's nothing too crazy loud. And you know, the fact this thing's just stock standard, there's not really an exhaust noise, there's no engine noise. It's just quiet and peaceful, which is surprising because this does have a clutch fan. And in my Fairmont, that thing is absolutely obnoxious. You can hear it all the time at any speed. Even with the new exhaust, which is loud as, you can still hear it. This is the type of car you don't really want to be like peeing it. You don't need to fucking change the gears and stuff. You just leave it in drive and kick back. But if you want to get on it a bit, I'm flooring it. I'm still flooring it. I'm doing 50. I'm flooring it still. I am still actively flooring this car. It's starting to build up, and bang. You know, it ain't fast. It's not meant to be fast. It's not advertised as a fast car. It's a fucking easygoing cruiser, which I like. And it's just good like that. Like once you get up to speed, you're chilling. Now, I always go this route when I record cars, and I take it down these back roads, which are really tight and twisty. And this is the type of car I already got in my head there's not even a need to push it remotely, because you're taking the car out of its limits, it's out of its boundaries, there's just no need. But if you just want to get on it a bit, you know, get up to speed, you just kind of give it about 20% throttle, and you're absolutely fine. You're chilling. Like, it will take its time, but it will get there eventually.
It was.
On the back roads around these corners, you know, this is when you're aware there's no traction control, there's no stability control, there's no foreskin control, there's nothing. You know, you don't want to lock these brakes up. And I'm not sure how easy it is, but I don't want to find out either. So in a corner like this, like I'm doing 40 and it feels like I'm doing 90, you know, because of the car. Like, you get on it a bit, you're going to roll over hectically. You know, if you want your first kiss, get your passenger in this and take a hard left. You'll be right. You're basically kissing each other. But, you know, if you're not trying to push it, it's pretty chill. Like, there's no sport mode in this car for a reason. But you really just got to be nice and gentle. Maybe take the corner a bit wider. Because this car, you know, there's no need to push it. This does have RE003 tyres on it. And, you know, that helps a lot. But, like, there's really no need to push it. Coming out of this corner, you can get on it a bit. You know, I'm flat foot, like proper pinning it, and you know, nothing's happening, but it's fine. Because once we take this on the freeway, you're gonna see where this thing makes its honey. Because it ain't around corners like this. Even though it's a rear-wheel drive car, you know, so are busters. Now I'm gonna do a 0 to 100 entering this freeway here. But it's going to be like a loose 0 to 100. Like, I'm not going from a standstill. So this is from, I'm doing 20 now and I'm going to ping it now. I'm getting overtaken by a Renault Traffic and I am flat out. This is me pinging it. 70, 80, 5,000 RPM, 90, 100. Oh yeah, catch the Renault. It makes it, it's actually fun, and there's something about just driving slow cars fast. You know, and now that we're sitting on the freeway, I'm doing 80 k's an hour at 2,000, just under 2,000 RPM, and I'm doing just slightly over 80 k's an hour. And you don't hear a damn thing. It's just such a quiet, comfortable car. And once you're up to speed, you know, there's nothing slowing this down. This thing will take you around Sweden, Australia, Germany, it doesn't matter. You know, this is probably what the car's built for. These shithouse back freeways that you just absorb everything, bumps, you name it. It's just grouse. This is where the car is made for.
Some of them were made in Australia and tested in Australia.
Yeah, and some of these were actually made in Australia and tested for Australian roads, and you can tell. And then others were made in Sweden. So a good thing about these 80s cars is they just don't rust. Like, you look at VR Commodores, Ford Fairmonts, whatever, old Japanese shitboxes, they're all rusting out by this age, especially German things. But this was made for Sweden, this was made for snow. This thing is an 88, it looks like it's been sitting in a paddock for 40 years, even though it's 30 years old. And there's no sign of rust, it's like completely fine. All you have is typical paint fade, which you see on 2010 cars with this summer bullshit we have here in Australia. But that's it, like the interior is fine, there's a few cracks here and there, but nothing a few 48-degree days won't cause any car. But the reality is, this thing still drives absolutely immaculate. And I'm going to sign it off. Yeah. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. You know, if you guys want to see more of these types of videos, you want to see the 940, a turbo version of this, and you just want to see more videos, like the video, comment, let me know what you think. You know, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I absolutely love doing these old school cars. And if you're located somewhere in the Melbourne area and you have an old school car or any type of car for me to review, comment it down below or email me or something.